Welcome to Not Strong.
This is a podcast for men about real challenges and real growth.
Life can hit hard. What do you do when the things you've always relied upon quit working?
When the way you've always handled things just isn't enough.
When your physical, mental, and spiritual strength are put to the test?
Do you push through, hold on even tighter?
Or have you learned how to surrender? And what does that look like?
We're here to explore the human spirit with you and share what it takes to press forward through life's greatest challenges.
To tap into something bigger than ourselves and live a healthier, happier, more fulfilling life.
Join us on the Not Strong journey.
Welcome to Not Strong. My name is Kurtis Loftus.
And I'm Tim Hamby.
So Not Strong. This is a podcast for men, specifically about the emotional, physical, and spiritual side of living out a positive, healthy lifestyle.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about issues that affect men, health, family, relationships, financial, all those things.
And we're going to get into some stories that are kind of fun for us because we've shared so many over the years, right?
Yes. We're both surfers. We both have a similar background professionally.
We are both in the marketing industry, live that out. The surfing part of our life is incredible. Thank God we have surfing.
Yeah, lots of stories and experiences that come out of that.
And it turns out that we both are Christian. We both have a really powerful understanding of where we draw the bigger strength from, correct?
Absolutely. That's a big part of my life.
It's going to be a big part of what we talk about through all of our discussions. This podcast really exists because both of us last year got hit with some news, and that's the other part of what's going on right now in our lives. I have prostate cancer right now. I'm dealing with it. I'm in a point with stage 3 where they are controlling it. They're looking at my testosterone, which is the fun part about this this podcast. I'll tell you about that in a second. But I'm living with no testosterone, an endurance athlete that doesn't have testosterone in his body.
There's a lot to be learned from it, and I know I was also diagnosed last year with cancer, stage 4 colon cancer. Fortunately, I'm in remission right now. I went through a year of chemo. It was the most challenging year of my life, and took a lot to get through it. But here I am. I'm doing well, and I think my prognosis is good. Yeah. And I'm excited to share.
It's going to be great, brother.
Some of the insights that we've gone through in the past year, and again, it's just another space where we connect and where we want to share some of what we've learned, so that people out there watching can hopefully gain some benefit.
Strength. It's going to be perseverance. We can talk about that. We can talk about surrender, which sometimes freaks a dude out. Like, tell a guy to surrender everything and they'll look at you like you're crazy.
And that whole mindset about
letting go, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
It's an interesting thing to step into when you're a man, and so much of your life is built around control, management, hoping everything is, doing your best to make sure everything works out, right?
And feeling that you can get through anything yourself, relying completely on yourself, which when you face up to certain challenges in life, you learn is not true.
Right.
That you need other people around you, that you need a higher power to turn to. And that's definitely been the case in the past years, as well as other times.
I think, in fact,
lives.
That's what's going to be interesting. We get to share those stories after 63 years. I've been through so many different stories, really big challenges, and sometimes not so big, but how I behaved, what I did was sometimes embarrassing. Sometimes, I didn't have the strength or the willingness. We'll get into that. I've got an addictive personality, Tim, so I'm also a person that's been challenged by alcohol and what I did and what I'm doing right now in recovery. So I've been in a recovery program for it'll be 11 years without a drink. Yeah, 11 years. And
congratulations. And you do a lot of mentoring of younger men.
That's right.
That are facing the same issues.
I'm in a program that allows me, it's an honor, to be quite honest. I get to work with men in similar situations in terms of the disease, and give them my experience, strength, and hope. which is powerful.
And I've certainly had my own issues with alcohol in the past. Back in the 20s,
not 1920s.
Yeah, no, the 20s and
I think
30s.
It's hard to avoid alcohol when you're in your 20 and 30 years old. But so we can talk a little bit about that. I want to say some things about this Not Strong though. So what it stands for is, funny enough, Kurtis no testosterone.
It's an acronym.
It's an acronym, but it really has a lot more to do with that symbol that the knot provides us. And I think I look at it triune, threefold, whatever you want to get to in terms of the elements of the knot. But it's certainly, again, your spiritual strength.
And a knot is strong.
Always strong. Yeah. Well, depending on how you've tied it together, right? I mean, it can be a worthless knot. It really can be if it's not pulled together with the kind of energy that says, I'm going to put everything I can from a positive, godly sort of position into my health, my physical health, my emotional health, and then my spiritual, right?
So we'll be bringing in some experts, and we'll be bringing in other people like us who've been through different experiences that challenge them in different ways, and getting more stories from them. But you've got
our first story. Our first podcast is a surf marathon.
You are a two-time surfing world record holder.
That is true.
And that's when we first met, was that first marathon
2011
surfer event.
2011.
And 2011. And I want you to tell us about that and what that whole experience was like. Obviously, got in touch with the Guinness folks, and
it was an official record, and well, let's get into it. So I was fortunate enough to start running training back in the early 2000s with the Donna Foundation. 26.2 with Donna is a national marathon to finish breast cancer.
Donna Deegan
is
who is the mayor of Jacksonville
now the mayor of Jacksonville, but she was also 3-time breast cancer survivor. She started the marathon because she loves running. Her husband Tim loves running, and this was
surfing.
Yeah, and surfing, true. And maybe we'll get Tim in here. I hope so. But I trained and raised money starting way back in 2003, 4, because that's what you do. If you join causes, you usually try to figure out ways to raise money. And one of the ways I did was with my art at the time. I did a lot of different things during the expo with art, and just doing stuff, personal things for people, and using art. And eventually by 2010, I was running out of ideas to continue raising money. Every year I'm running a marathon. Every year I'm raising money, and I loved it. But eventually you run out of ideas when it comes to fundraising. Sure. And so 2011, I hit on an idea. It was just me sitting in a barbershop watching someone break a world record, and I immediately just thought, who's broken the world record for, or is there a world record for surfing? Like longest surf event, how many waves did you catch, all that. So I researched it when I got to the house after leaving the barbershop. And it turns out there was a guy in California in 2010 that had actually broken the world record. A young man went for 26 hours, 1 minute. That was his record. And I thought that was kind of interesting. Yeah, it was just shy of an actual 26.2 real marathon. Yeah. And so that was cool. I almost thought, well, this must mean something here. And the other thing that he did is he caught waves, and that was part of the record. 147 waves he rode. And I thought, that's not that tough when I thought, yep. So
26 hours is tough.
Yeah, that might scare a few people. So I ended up calling Tim, who the husband of Donna and a good friend, and I said, hey, I think there's a way to raise some money and break a world record in surfing. And of course that fired him up.
Sure.
Yeah. And so the two of us now had a plan to figure this thing out. We had to do it rather quickly. It was, I think September. I only had like a month to put this together.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was like September, and I contacted Guinness. They were saying it's 3 weeks before we can really tell you if we're going to be able to qualify this thing, if we want to approve this. They have actuaries that you have to spend a bunch of money if you want to do this professionally.
Right.
You hire their actuaries, and then they can guarantee that they can qualify you. But you can also get, what it turned out, I can get my own judges. You have to be qualified judges. You have to videotape the entire process. And I knew this was going to be at least 30 hours in the ocean. They allow you 5-minute breaks for every hour. So the time doesn't count towards the record, but you get a break and you don't kill yourself. So 5-minute break. And so we started planning this thing for October, end of October. Water temps are still a little warm, right?
Yeah.
And 70s, which is doable. I still need a wetsuit. I'm a skinny guy.
Yeah.
And then but you can't really guarantee conditions.
Yeah, you're in northeaster season.
Well, that, and you're in still potential flat.
Yeah.
Or, like you said, northeast and drifty. It was October 26th. It was like a Wednesday, and we had all the action. I mean, the judges set to be there. We had about 30 friends that were going to show up on the beach and help witness and keep me hydrated and make sure I was fed. My wife, my mom.
Hi, I'm Donna Deegan. I am the founder of the Donna Foundation at 26.2 in Donna. We raise money for breast cancer research and for underserved women with breast cancer, and that's why Kurtis Loftus is out here today at Jacksonville Beach. This guy has got a heart bigger than the ocean that he's in right now, and he's out there trying to set a Guinness World Record for number of hours surfed. He just went in the water about 1 o'clock this afternoon. This is, I guess, Wednesday the 26th. He'll be coming out on Thursday the 27th at 9 p.m. And I'm just so proud of him because he's always trying to raise money for our great cause. And like, I don't know how he's watching this stuff.
Ready to catch one here. And he is up and riding. He's
He's better than I thought he was gonna do.
Yeah.
I gotta give him that for sure.
10 3-hour sessions.
That is so crazy because 3 hours is a normal surf session.
That's
Me,
a
3, 4 hours.
A lot of times
And,
that's it. If you get a 3-hour surf session, you feel great.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going to have 10 of them back to back to back.
That's insane.
Yeah. And so 1 o'clock, I get out. By 4, something like that, I'm taking my first break. I'm catching waves, get back in the water. It's a 5-minute break. I get back in the water. No, I'm sorry. It's 15 because I'm combining the 3 hours to get a 15-minute break. So I'm back out in the water, go till about, I think it's 6:30 when I come in again.
Yeah.
And then I take my next break, and I'm charged up. I'm catching so many waves. I was told, I think at that time I had over 100 waves in 6 hours.
Yeah.
Which is ridiculous. I mean, think about that. Now they're short waves, but you're catching a wave, you paddle back out, catch another wave, you paddle back out. And you just, adrenaline's going. Yeah. So I paddle back out in the ocean. Now it's 7:30 at night. And something like that, and I do another 3 hours. And out in the water during that 3 hours, I realized I had hit a wall, and I was
starting to get dark.
It was already dark. No, when I paddled out at 7, it was already dark, and I was alone. And I had friends and people around me, but I hit a physical wall.
There was a ton of people,
and there were a lot of people, right? And so I kind of alluded to this. I didn't want to say I'm giving up, but I also wanted to tell everyone I wasn't doing well. And so they fed me some protein drinks and gave me some encouragement. I toweled off. I got my head right, and a buddy of mine comes over. He says, "I'm going to go out there with you, Kurtis, and I'm going to give you these gel packs. And every 45 minutes, I'm going to give you a gel pack."
Like the kind runners use.
Runners use, yep. And I'm just going to stay on this thing. I'm going to be with you for the next 3 hours. And that alone was really cool, because then, once again, I'm relying on other people.
Those things work.
Yeah, and well, they work, and just having a friend come back up to you after 45 minutes in the dark, and he's like, "Hey, Kurtis, here's another gel pack." Yeah. So it was all really meaningful. The energy, the food, sustenance got me going, and it was really a matter of I caught 60 waves in the dark, which is pretty good.
Yeah.
So by the morning and sunrise, which is extraordinary, we were all excited for the sunrise. I had already basically gotten close to the world record. As a matter of fact, I had broken it, because it was 147 waves that the guy had previously, and I got myself to 150 that morning at sunrise. So that was fantastic. Now I just needed to hold out and just keep catching waves all the way till like 8 o'clock that night.
Yeah.
8:30, 9 o'clock that night. So it was one of the coolest things.
A Jacksonville Beach surfer has an unofficial new world record tonight. Kurtis Loftus started out yesterday afternoon at 1 p.m. and tonight at 8:15 he finally caught his last wave. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh, there it is. Kurtis left the ocean as he went in, surrounded by friends from the local surf community who never left him alone for a moment. He arrived to a champagne bath in an official time of more than 29 hours. What do you feel about doing this? I mean, this is just amazing.
Well, I said something earlier, Donna, and it really comes back to you. It was sort of a fear versus love thing, and I just wanted people to know that I could have thought of this idea and kind of hung on to it and maybe said, well, gosh, what if I fail, or what if this is kind of looked at the wrong way? I wanted this to sort of capture a spirit and let people know what 26.2 is about, and just involve a community, the surf communities. I don't know who's reached out to the surf community in this kind of way, and I just wanted to push really hard and do something special.
308 waves. I think your target was 150. I think we shattered that.
Yeah, we did that.
What happened to like
Just
your
physically,
skin
the physical part of it, two things happen. Obviously, the skin just gets really wrinkled.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
I was just wrinkled. There's some great pictures of me all wrinkled up. People that paddled out to say hello to me, you know, I'd take off my glove and hold my hand out, and it would just be like a cadaver hand.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just bad.
Yeah.
And that was fun. And then the other one was actually at the end of the event, getting the wetsuit off of me and going home. My wife was like wanting to put warm clothes on me and just really nervous about my health. And I'm like, I don't want anything touching my body. Like that wetsuit for 30 hours was just constricting everything.
That's crazy.
And it was gnarly. And so I get out of the wetsuit, get home. This is me I'm not even going to do anything crazy that night. Just want to go to bed. And within an hour, I started shaking involuntarily. And it turned out, because we started calling people, should I go to the doctor? What's going on? Is it shock? What is this? Mm-hmm. And so it turns out one of my nurse friends that has a good friend, doctor, that was willing to give us some advice, said, if the man's been in a wetsuit for 30 hours and just took that wetsuit off for the first time, then those constricted arteries, or let's call them, all the circulatory stuff that has been dialed back, because of the wetsuit, now opens it like a faucet. I opened everything back up.
It's just wide open.
Which was, it was crazy. So even in the second world record attempt, I had to pay attention to that. The second world record didn't get qualified, but it was a long.
The first world record that you had did eventually. Somebody else broke it.
Yeah. Then, we got the record with the certificate and all that, and then within a year, someone else broke it, and then another person broke it, and then they stopped qualifying it. I think around the time I went for it again, because I did everything exactly the same way and learned. Once I had already initiated, I'm too far into it to not do it, but I had learned they weren't going to qualify it. So I went ahead and did it as my fundraiser and broke it unofficially. But it was 32 hours, 31 hours, but it was 600 waves. It was a great wave count.
You feel better prepared the second time around?
Pretty much, yeah. I was ready. But, Tim, what I wanted to share before we finished up the podcast is even during that time, breaking that record, in 2011, I was already in a place where I think I was doing a lot of faking it, kind of a lot of maybe putting myself out there, looking for even though I would have imagined it wasn't all about me, whatever I was doing at the time, I was still very uncertain in my heart and head. There was just a disconnect, if I can call it that, where.
I would think an experience like that would leave you feeling pretty invincible.
Yeah,
but
no. In fact, I think I knew I was dealing with kind of this dualistic thing where I I don't want to call myself a fraud, but it's the best language I can use, where I'm doing something really cool, something great, but in my soul, my spirit, I'm just not convinced. It doesn't seem like I'm as honest as I could be, even though I really did approach it with the greatest amount of honesty, like a sincerity. There was just the best I can say is I was not as authentic as
in terms of doing it for the right reasons, or
the only place I can turn to is my inner self and God. Something was conflicted in me in that event. It's just the truth. And it was a great event, and it was wonderful. The experience, I love the experience, even the second experience, comparing the two, I can say the second experience was much more honest and authentic, because I had grown a lot. And some of this relates back to what would be eventually me admitting I've also got a problem with drinking, and some of that was going on even before setting up the world record attempt.
Wow.
Yeah. And I remember not being in the best state of mind when I was talking to you sometimes, or talking to Donna and talking to people and planning and getting this ready. I was already in a conflicted place. So I was the marathon runner, the endurance athlete that actually was still struggling with my own self-worth, my own love of self, let's call it. I didn't know if it was, that I couldn't value myself properly. It's a hard thing to explain, but I do know now that once I started addressing some of these things that are deeply seated, where, hey, God, I have this issue. Hey, God, what about this thing over here where I've kind of done I've been inappropriate. I haven't behaved, the best I can. And all of that stuff gets tied up into me self-medicating. And I would just go, I had friends that did the same thing. They just self-medicate. Some couldn't manage it that well. One of my dear friends, 2009, had passed away. And that's probably if someone ever wanted to say, really, what's the trigger? I can't say that was the total excuse, but dear friend, and he died from alcoholism.
Yeah, no, I've had several very, very close friends die from addiction. Issues, depression.
And then you'll take that on. Weirdly enough, it's like, well, I don't know if it's just because I was already headed that way, and there was just the next step for me to just go, well, this is the appropriate way to behave. I'm just going to, ignore all these problems, and I'm just going to, not share the struggles and the pain and why this disease has me this way. But man, I couldn't power through that on my own.
And getting out of that headspace, that trap that you'd fallen into.
And so that robbed, I guess here it is, that kind of robbed me a little bit of that fuller experience that I could have shared.
Some of the joy that you could have taken from it.
Yeah, exactly.
And so getting out of that, it takes people around you, the program, and kind of an introspective reflection.
So it was 2013 when I finally jumped into the program.
Okay.
Well, 2014. Yeah. So that was took another 4 years.
Yeah.
3 to 4 years before I finally and it was a lot of different reasons, but I knew I was at that place where it was time for me to get honest and to start doing some work that was hopefully going to lead me to a place where I could be a better
human being. Were your family members aware of these issues?
And some, and that we'll make sure we continue to delve into these things, because I think addiction or alcoholism is so prevalent, and some folks, thankfully the stigma isn't as big. There's people now talking out loud and sort of sharing stories. It's not the thing we do in the program is, always say, hey, this is how to do it. This is what I recommend. It's more like being an example. It's the best way to, move through if you can be out there and an example, they call it, It's attraction, not promotion. So if you can be out there in the world and be a true light, and people see it through your eyes, they see it through your actions, they understand, based on trust and repetitive work. It becomes a life that you could, for me, I would have never imagined. And I'm grateful for that. But man, it started in 2014. Yeah. So that's a whole nother thing that I'd love to chat with you about and chat with the audience about, because I think it's a big deal.
Yeah,
Especially for men, middle-aged men, and what starts to happen when you're no longer conquering, when you're no longer, you're still working, but the goals aren't the same. Once you admit, don't you think that the goals are a little different for us nowadays?
Absolutely. Yeah. Different stages of life.
Well, and it's not like the energy's gone. It's not like that, we care less. It's actually just a way to approach our lives that seems for me to be much more meaningful. How I approach my marriage, how I approach my children.
Older, wiser.
I hope older, wiser. It
doesn't mean we get everything perfect all the time, even when we're older. We don't.
No.
But have definitely learned a lot coming through a lot of these situations, and I know I've had significant ups and downs, highs and lows in business.
No, we're going to talk. Yeah, we've got some business stories that'll be really worthwhile, because both of us have really run businesses. I mean, you were a creative director. Yeah. I started a business, and we talked about this a week ago, and I was surprised how close our stories were, even with business.
It's
unreal.
Amazing.
Yeah, it was amazing. So, and I appreciate that about you, because, your leadership, your ability to stand in the midst of the trials as they were, happening around you, how you handled how you handled your employees, how you handled, the house, all of that stuff. So it'll be, I think, worthwhile to get into some of that with the audience, and bring some people in that can also help tell the stories and share this not strong idea where it's, don't just rely on our physical, endurance, our strength and perseverance. Don't just rely on that emotional, that logical guy that goes, I can outsmart anything. It's those two, super important. But my gosh, when it really becomes, hey, God, I really need everything in check. I need everything aligning. And if I can't do it, please just give me the patience. Give me a chance to pull back, pause, and just be in your presence.
Yeah, and there's so much power in that when you do figure out how to tap into it, when you do fully trust God, and give a lot of that to Him, and if not all of it, and so we've got some interesting stories that we'll be sharing about those kinds of experiences and how they turned out.
And we will try once a week.
So
I think we've got some things coming up, but plan on we'll have 3 maybe that we get done and load up all at the same time. But looking forward to sharing as much as we can. Not strong, empowering our human spirit. Thank you, Tim.